In 1980s, a British actress named Kay Parker starred in a film called Taboo. It became one of the most watched films of the decade, earning over $100 million dollars and launching 22 sequels. Kay Parker became a household name overnight, but the woman behind that iconic role, her story was far more complex than anything that appeared on screen. And what happened to her in the years that followed would reveal the hidden cost of fame in an industry that promised freedom but delivered something entirely different. This is the biography of Kay Parker, the untold story of a 1970s icon who walked away at the height of her fame and transformed into something Hollywood never saw coming. Kay Parker was born Kay Taylor in Birmingham, England in 1944, just as World War II was ending. She grew up in a conservative post-war household where expectations for women were clear and uncompromising. But those who knew young Kay remember someone whose curiosity couldn't quite be contained by the boundaries of 1950s British respectability. By her 20s, she had married and started a family, following the traditional path. She had a daughter. On the surface, everything looked conventional, but beneath that surface, Kay Parker was restless, searching for something her life in England couldn't provide. In 1977, at 33 years old, Kay Parker made a decision that would change everything. She left England and moved to Los Angeles, California. This wasn't a vacation or a brief adventure. This was a complete reinvention. Los Angeles in the late 70s was a city in transformation. The old Hollywood studio system had crumbled. Independent filmmakers were experimenting with everything from avant-garde cinema to exploitation films. And in the San Fernando Valley, the adult film industry was experiencing what historians now call the Golden Age, a period when productions had real budgets, experienced crews, and ambitions that went beyond simple genre content. Kay Parker, a British mother in her 30s with no Hollywood connections and no film experience, walked directly into that world. Her entry came through a performer named John Leslie, already an established name in the industry. He saw something in Kay that others might have overlooked. At 33, she was older than most newcomers in an industry obsessed with youth. But she had presence, sophistication, and a British accent that made her instantly memorable. John Leslie introduced her to agents and directors, and within months, Kay Parker had her first role. Between 1977 and 1980, Kay Parker appeared in dozens of films. She worked alongside industry legends like John Leslie, Juliet Anderson, and Secca. Directors specifically wrote roles for her because they knew what they would get: professionalism, emotional depth, and the ability to carry a narrative. By 1979, Kay Parker was no longer just another performer. She was becoming a star within the adult film industry. But nothing in those first 3 years prepared anyone for what happened next. In 1980, director Kirdy Stevens approached Kay with a script called Taboo. The film explored forbidden themes that mainstream Hollywood would never touch, specifically the complex relationship between a mother and her adult son. The role would require Kay to navigate material that was controversial even by adult film standards. She understood immediately what accepting this part would mean. This would define her career. This would become her legacy. The question was whether she was willing to pay that price for the chance to do something artistically ambitious. Kay said yes. The filming of Taboo took place over several weeks in 1980, and the production was serious, focused, and professionally executed. When Taboo premiered in 1980, the response was explosive. The film became a cultural phenomenon. It earned over $100 million, an extraordinary sum that made it one of the highest-grossing independent films of its era. The film's success eventually spawned 22 sequels, making it one of the longest-running franchises in cinema history. And Kay Parker became the face of that success, the actress synonymous with Taboo, a household name in ways she never anticipated. But here's what most people don't know about that moment. The success of Taboo came with a cost Kay hadn't fully calculated. The mainstream press covered the film with fascination and outrage in equal measure. Kay's name appeared in newspapers and magazines, but the framing was always the same. She was either a symbol of liberation or a cautionary tale, depending on who was writing. She gave thoughtful interviews trying to explain the artistic intent behind the film, the narrative craft, the performance choices, but nuance doesn't survive tabloid culture. To much of America, Kay Parker became one thing: the actress from Taboo. Her personal life felt the impact immediately. Family back in England cut off contact. The conservative community she grew up in saw her career as a betrayal of everything they valued. Kay later described the profound isolation of being celebrated in one world while being completely rejected by another. The disconnect between how she understood her work and how the broader culture judged it created a divide that would define the next phase of her life. What hurt most, though, was Hollywood's rejection. Because Kay Parker wanted more than adult film stardom, she had the talent for mainstream work. After Taboo's success, she auditioned for roles in traditional Hollywood productions, but the shadow of Taboo followed her into every casting room. Directors who privately told her they admired her performance wouldn't cast her publicly. Studios saw her name as a commercial risk they wouldn't take. For 3 years, Kay fought that battle. She took roles in other adult films, trying to show range. She worked with respected directors, but the mainstream door stayed closed. By 1984, Kay Parker had appeared in over 80 adult films and earned more money than most actresses in any industry. But she was exhausted. The work that once felt like artistic expression had become repetitive. The disconnect between her self-perception and public perception had become unbearable. And the dream of mainstream acceptance had proven impossible. So Kay Parker did something that shocked everyone who knew her. She walked away. There was no announcement. No farewell film, no press conference. Kay simply completed her existing contracts and stopped. She left Los Angeles entirely. She changed her public identity. For nearly 2 decades, Kay Parker vanished. The industry moved on. New stars emerged. Within a few years, her name rarely appeared in publications. To the outside world, Kay Parker had simply disappeared. But during those invisible years, something profound was happening. Kay Parker was rebuilding her entire life around something the film industry had never allowed: authenticity. She studied metaphysical counseling and energy healing. She trained in spiritual practices and alternative wellness approaches. This wasn't an image rehabilitation attempt. This was genuine transformation driven by Kay's own search for meaning beyond fame. She eventually began working as a metaphysical counselor, helping people navigate trauma, identity crises, and major life transitions. The skills she had developed as a performer, the ability to access deep emotion and create safe space for vulnerability, translated into counseling work in ways she never expected. In the early 2000s, Kay began speaking publicly again, but on completely different terms. She appeared in documentary films about cinema history, not to defend her past, but to provide historical context. She participated in academic panels discussing independent film in the 70s and 80s. She gave interviews that treated her work as legitimate artistic output worth serious analysis. Film historians began studying Taboo as an important artifact of Golden Age adult cinema, a moment when filmmakers attempted to merge controversial content with genuine narrative ambition. And Kay's performance was recognized for what it actually was: craft. In 2016, Kay published her autobiography titled Taboo, Sacred Don't Touch. The book was unflinchingly honest about everything: the isolation, the judgment, the years seeking validation from institutions that would never grant it. But she also wrote about growth, spiritual awakening, and the freedom that came from letting go of other people's definitions. The autobiography found readers who had never seen her films but related deeply to her journey of reinvention. Kay Parker was later inducted into both the AVN and XRCO Halls of Fame, acknowledging her lasting impact on film history. But those honors were never what mattered most to her. Her true pride came from the life she built after fame, working as a counselor and helping others heal. When asked about regrets, she was always clear. She stood by her performances. Her only regret was spending years hoping Hollywood would see her as more than one role. Kay Parker passed away on the 14th of October, 2022, at the age of 78. While mainstream obituaries focus narrowly on Taboo, those who knew her in her later years remembered a woman who had found peace, purpose, and meaning beyond film. Today, her influence endures. Taboo is studied as a key artifact of Golden Age adult cinema, and her story continues to resonate with anyone who has ever walked away from a defining career to rebuild on their own terms. Kay Parker's life is ultimately a story of courage: the courage to reinvent, to let go of external validation, and to become who you truly are. So let me know in the comments, which other figures from this era of cinema history should I cover next? And if Kay Parker's journey resonated with you, be sure to check out my video on Marilyn Chambers, linked here. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.